Right. My name is Grant Linscott. It's a real pleasure to be here, and thank you for having an interest in this subject. I've been an associate professor of design thinking for the last 10 years, and been lucky enough to teach design thinking to what we consider to be creative people and also non-creative people, business students. And I wanted to share with you some insights about getting it to work, why it works, and what it actually does to you, in the essence that it actually changes you. Okay, so very quickly, we're talking about traditional higher education. The other speakers have already brought this up. A traditional lecture theatre, analytics, metrics, model statistics, linear thinking. This is the nature of traditional higher education. And traditional design education, people have also mentioned this, is about learning by doing. Okay, the idea that you do a design project and you will learn something. And many years ago, I questioned this in the sense of, well, hold on a second, is there not an element of chance involved in that? How do we know that the students are actually learning what they should be learning? IDEO has been working in the design field for many years, and back in the 90s, it was considering the nature of design, the fact that we design for humans. We don't design for ourselves. There certainly was a period when we had superstar designers that would sit in a room and do the creative thing, okay? Now, IDEO started to consider this fact that we design for other people, and embraced the idea of using ethnographic techniques where we study the human, we study the nature of the human, what the human is looking for, and we start with desirability. And from there, once we know what they desire, we can use technology to address that. Okay, more recently, the Institute of Design at Stanford in the US came up with the model that is empathize, define, ideate, prototype, test. I'm sure you're aware of this. This developed to this model, which probably better represents the fact that the flow of a design process is not linear. You step forward, you step back, you can start in the middle. And then again, more recently, an understanding that if you want to be truly innovative, it doesn't just stop with development, be it a service, a product, or an experience. It has to go out there into society and have an impact. That's the definition of innovation. And so they added implementation at the end in blue. There is other models that exist, looking at the fact that we do convergent thinking. The information becomes large en masse, and then we converge back down to a point of understanding. The idea of using visualization techniques to communicate what you're actually thinking. This is quite humorous, but very, very accurate. People who've gone through design thinking understand that it's complicated, it's complex. We don't have a clue what's going on at the beginning. Okay, you have uncertainty, and you're lost. You're just swimming around trying to find out what the research is telling you. This is a double diamond model that I will come back to that was quite old, 2005 in the UK. The idea that we start off with a problematic, go through the research to get a problem, and then address that problem, the second half of the diamond. Okay, but that doesn't tell us, these models don't tell us what is actually going on. Okay, they're very much about selling something. They're about saying it's a process. You can replicate it. Can you get it in scale? Okay, and we know design thinking. When we look at it, we see things like this, post-it notes on a wall. Okay, we see things like prototypes, minimal viable prototypes on the left, on your left, yes, and then the end product. This was a piece of medical equipment. Okay, so if we go back to the double diamond, and we say, okay, we've got discover, define, develop, deliver, and the primary task at each point in this design process is research, analysis, ideation, and realization. What we can do is we can start to deconstruct what's actually going on, and then later on I'll show you maybe deconstruct a bit more about what goes on in the minds of the students or the people undergoing this process. So we have a sense of intent, a wicked problem, or a challenge, a need for innovation. We don't really know what the solution is. We just sense there's a need, be it a problem. Okay, we go and we do human-centered design research. This ethnographical research. We study people. We study what people are doing. We do behavioral maps. We do surveys. We do interviews. And we try and get to the values and beliefs that are driving the people. Okay, we do data clustering. But in essence, the beginning of the research is just amassing data, a maximum amount of data. Okay, analysis is where we actually take that data and say, what is that data telling us? Okay, probably the hardest part, to have an insightful understanding about human nature. Okay, we look for themes and opportunity areas, and then we would say, okay, look, we understand we could do this, we could address this problem with the solution development, and it's actually addressing the very first problematic. Okay, and we're very aware of the ideas of brainstorming, idea generation, and evaluation of those ideas. And then the realization where we build prototype test, and we iterate that build prototype test. Okay, and in essence, the solution then goes off to be implemented in society. Okay, so that's kind of a breakdown of a model. What I want to do is maybe show you a project. This is a very simple project. It's a project that ends up in a product. And we've done this with the service of hospitals, for instance. We've done this with social innovation, the nature of homelessness. The fact of the matter is it's a lot easier to communicate what goes on in the presentation of a product because it's actually very tangible to you. So Decathlon is the large sports manufacturer, and they were looking at changing the way they break up the internal brands within Decathlon. And they wanted to look at trekking and to expand up the internal brand of Foreclass. Okay, and they came and they said, well, okay, we're not really sure what we want to do, where do we want to go with actual product development or service development. We just want some innovation that will expand the brand of Foreclass. Okay, so we start off, and some of the questions you pose at the beginning, the nature of the hiker. Okay, what are his needs? What is he thinking? What are his interactions? What is he hearing, seeing, feeling, and doing? In what context? Okay, and these questions have nothing to do with Decathlon. It's very important to separate that out. It's about the human. We're just trying to study the human. Okay, what we're looking for is an insightful understanding of what trekkers need. Okay, that's it. That's the starting point. Okay, we do an immersive experience. Okay, we ourselves, the group of students and myself, into the hills to actually consider the nature of the experience. And half of us are taking photos that we can study at an ethnographical level, and the interactions and the processes and what we're doing throughout that trek. Okay? We also do interviews of trekkers who have that experience. We ask about the nature of their experience. We ask about their worst experiences. But again, it's about values. It's about beliefs, about understanding the people. Okay? From there, we take all the data and we put the data on a wall. Okay, and we're using, this is a journey map that comes from the development of user experience. Okay, and I can show you a little video, maybe. C'est comme les casquettes vertes. Okay, so the interesting thing to note here is physically doing, or we can see what people are physically doing, okay? In what context, okay? Then when you get a bit further from that, you start to say, well, what are they thinking? Yes, we can ask, but the key trick to doing successful design thinking is to be able to project from data to the understanding. And it's basically a synthesis, the capacity of ourselves to take together diverse information to make sense, okay? And thinking, and then again, feeling. How do you understand what people are feeling? What are their emotions? Okay, and if we go back to the model on the top left, what did that come out for us? It came out that trekkers are looking for autonomy, long-term autonomy. Given the chance, they would like to walk for 4 weeks in the hills. Okay, that's what the insight was. And it came out that we'd look at capture, storage, and use of energy is what we're going to use as the driver for the actual solution and the product that we're going to, or service at this point that we're going to develop. We go and do some brainstorming. Okay, it's very rough. You know, you look online, design thinking looks sexy and what have you. It's actually not sexy like that. Okay, it looks rough like this. We've got no sketches. It's purely about the quality of the ideas that we can generate. You know, will they touch people? Okay, moving into things that are a bit more graphical, where we look at the actual form of what the solution looks like, and then really rough prototypes that are not sexy. Okay, so here we're looking at generating energy. Okay, we analyze the actual motion of a hiker, and the motion of the hiker creates a movement. Can we actually adapt a rucksack with dynamos and some kind of structure that will actually generate energy over the course of a 6-hour hike? Likewise, a pair of trousers. Okay, and when you walk, if you're walking for 6 hours, that tiny bit of walking motion can be translated to something that generates energy. Okay, and these are, you know, it's fascinating to see somebody confronted by this because they don't know what they're doing, and they say, I don't know how to do this. You say, well, how would you do it? Buy a torch, break it open, make a mock-up. Okay, and from that, we're developing an entire range of powered hiking equipment. Okay, we're having heated sleeping bags, heated clothing, because we now can actually create energy for the entire nature of the trek. Okay, I can't actually show you that. I can show you something that's a little bit more finished. This is a project for a startup aqua bike. These things are very popular in France. You put them in a swimming pool and you pedal, and it's very good for your legs, very good for your cellulite. If you have cellulite. And we went through the same process, and we come through to the prototype, and we wanted to develop something that you could put into the sea, and you could float, and then you could navigate in the sea. Okay, prototype number, whatever it was, 5, 6, where here we have a propeller, we have steering, and we're actually learning as we're going. Okay, and this is the end product that is going into production, hopefully by the end of this year. Okay, so what does this have to do with educating for future societies? Okay, and I think it's a common thread that we've heard elsewhere, is that education shouldn't just be about transmission of knowledge. It should be about development of the younger generation that comes behind us and improves the society that we have around us. Okay, and if you go back to this, we are incredibly far away from this model. Okay, so what is it actually about? It's about navigating complexity. Okay, at the beginning of a design thinking process, you don't know where you're going to go. Okay, and you have to build and learn as you go. Okay, but it's about having an internal stance and a posture, that is to say, a nature of being that gives you certain competences as a human to navigate this complexity. And the way I kind of look at this, and I'm maybe quite far out there on my side of the fence, is that education should equip students with a way of being that gives them the confidence to ask the right questions, the courage to present what they believe is right, and the motivation to bring those solutions to reality. And when I go back to this model, okay, in the reflections that I've had about contrasting creatives and non-creatives and successful design thinking programs, I've become very aware that it's to do with the nature of the person, the practitioner. And the practitioner actually gets changed throughout going through the process of a design thinking program. When you do research, it's about being open-minded. It's about questioning. It's about having an emotional intelligence to understand other people. Okay, analysis is about making sense of the world. Okay, ideation is about being creative, self-expressive. Okay, and across the whole lot, we can talk about the idea of flexible collaboration. But these, for me, are the essence of being a successful human and a successful navigator of change and to be a change maker, in essence. Okay, and some of the focus groups have come out and said, okay, I get a sense of becoming more open-minded through the idea of empathy, especially if you pick a subject where students have a preconceived notion. The research confronts them, they remove their filter, and it actually opens their mind up. They gain empathy. It breaks their beliefs. They say, I never thought I was creative. I now see that I am creative. And some of them are genuinely tearful in their thanks. You get a sense of having touched somebody and released something within them. To conclude, what is this about? It's about the development of self-efficacy. It's about personal transformation, personal development and personal transformation. It's about developing someone's self-belief to succeed, to be able to navigate the complexity and to produce and judge and be somebody partakes in change in the world. Okay, thank you very much.